In a time long ago, when the earth was still young and the gods often walked among men, there lived a gifted inventor named Daedalus. Known throughout the ancient world for his brilliant mind and craftsmanship, Daedalus was not merely a man of invention, he was an architect of dreams and a sculptor of wonders. His hands shaped miracles from wood and bronze, and his ideas soared beyond the comprehension of ordinary mortals. He designed palaces that whispered secrets in the wind, machines that moved as if alive, and statues so lifelike they were said to breathe. But as with all men who reach for the divine, Daedalus carried within him both the blessing of genius and the burden of consequence. Among the many legends tied to Daedalus, none is more poignant, more tragic, or more enduring than that of his son, Icarus. A boy born of curiosity and courage, Icarus was raised in the shadow of his father's brilliance. He learned to carve wood before he could write, to understand the winds before he knew of kingdoms. He spent his childhood in workshops filled with gears and flames, dreaming of the day he would one day craft something of his own that would stand the test of time. Icarus did not simply idolize his father, he believed in the greatness they could achieve together, yet destiny, ever fickle, had other plans. After a series of misfortunes that led Daedalus to the island of Crete, once a refuge, now a prison, he found himself at the mercy of King Minos, a ruler of cunning intellect and fierce pride. The king demanded that Daedalus construct a labyrinth, an impossible maze to contain the monstrous Minotaur, a creature born of divine punishment and mortal folly. But genius does not wither in confinement, it grows restless. From their tower prison, Daedalus watched the seabirds glide over the waves with effortless grace. He envied their freedom, their boundless sky. And in the whisper of their wings, he found an idea. If man could not walk to freedom, perhaps he could fly. So he gathered feathers from the gulls and wax from candles, and with painstaking precision, Daedalus crafted 2 pairs of wings, one for himself and one for his son. He warned Icarus with stern gravity, "These wings are our salvation, but they are fragile. Fly too low, and the sea spray will weigh them down. Fly too high, and the heat of the sun will melt the wax. Hold the middle path. My son. Balance is your only guide." With the dawn light washing the sky in hues of gold and rose, father and son leapt from the tower and took to the air. To those who looked up from the fields and villages below, it must have seemed as though gods had descended in reverse, ascending, not descending, wings wide and luminous in the sun. For Daedalus, the flight was a methodical miracle, a testament to his mind's power. But for Icarus, it was ecstasy. The wind roared in his ears, the clouds danced around him, and the world fell away beneath his feet. Never before had he felt so alive, so limitless. And in that moment of pure, unshackled freedom, Icarus forgot his father's warning. He climbed higher, chasing the sun, chasing glory, chasing a dream that was never meant for mortal hands. The heat grew intense, yet he did not slow. The wax softened, the feathers loosened, and before he understood what was happening, the wings that had lifted him from his prison betrayed him. With no support beneath him, Icarus plummeted, spiraling through the sky like a fallen star, his cry lost in the wind and sea. He struck the waves below, and the sea closed over him in silence. The place where he fell became known as the Icarian Sea. Daedalus, heartbroken and alone, landed safely but hollowed by grief. He had given his son wings, but not the wisdom to bear their weight. And so the tale of Icarus passed into legend, not merely as a warning against hubris, but as a symbol of human longing. For who among us has not dreamed of flying too high, of reaching beyond what is safe, of touching something greater even if it risks our fall? The myth of Icarus lives on not because it condemns ambition, but because it reveals its dual nature. We are drawn to the sky, to the things that shine, to the impossible promises whispered by the wind. Icarus reminds us that there is beauty in the attempt, even in the fall. His story is not just about disobedience, it is about the cost of wonder, the risk of hope, and the eternal human desire to transcend our limits. In modern times, Icarus has become a metaphor, adapted and reinterpreted by artists, writers, and thinkers across generations. His wings have taken flight in poetry and philosophy, in psychology and politics, in paintings and songs. Some see him as a cautionary figure. We can examine Icarus through the lens of modern psychology and see a youth in search of identity, caught between the authority of his father and the pull of autonomy. Daedalus represents control, logic, and restraint. Icarus, in contrast, embodies emotion, passion, and the yearning for freedom. The dynamic between the two is not just familial, it is archetypal. It speaks to the tension between generations, between caution and curiosity, between fear and wonder. In the workplace, the myth of Icarus is often used as a lesson in overreach. Business leaders speak of the Icarus paradox, wherein the very qualities that make an organization or individual successful, ambition, innovation, confidence, can, if unchecked, lead to downfall. A company that flies too high without awareness of its limitations may crash spectacularly. But is the answer to never fly? Or to fly with humility and wisdom? In literature and art, Icarus often represents the artist's journey, the desire to create something transcendent, even at the cost of personal sacrifice. To paint the impossible, to write the truth, to dance on the edge of madness, these are acts of flight. The sun burns, yes, but the sky also calls. And in the space between ambition and consequence lies creation itself. Even in the world of science, Icarus appears as a symbol of risk. Pioneers who pushed the boundaries of knowledge, Galileo, Darwin, Curie, Tesla, faced ridicule, danger, and even exile. The myth also challenges us to consider how we raise and teach the next generation. Daedalus gave Icarus the tools, but perhaps not enough guidance. He warned him, yes, but did he truly prepare him for the awe and temptation of the sky? It is not enough to teach rules, we must teach responsibility. Not enough to give wings, we must teach the winds. Yet there is something deeply human in Icarus's fall. He does not simply die, he flies, and in doing so, he becomes eternal. For while his body sank beneath the waves, his spirit rose into story. And every time we tell his tale, we give him flight once more. It is easy to look at Icarus and say, he should have listened. But perhaps the better question is, have we never flown too close to something we loved, even if it hurt us? Have we never risked too much for a glimpse of greatness? The story endures because it reflects who we are, not perfect, not infallible, but yearning. Always yearning. His name is whispered not just as a warning, but as a memory of what it means to reach for more. And while Daedalus landed and lived, it is Icarus we remember, not because he fell, but because he flew.